Hey. Candid, cleaning conversations. Everybody gather round, it's a celebration that we're still standing. Big up Katrina, she the inspiration. Came up from the bottom, she here with that motivation. Here to teach and inspire, help you aim higher, help you dream bigger, get what you desire. Real recognize, real iron sharp as iron. Let us grow your cleaning business. She ain't playing around, yeah, the queen mean business. So stick around, get down with a podcast. Hold it down, here we go, foot on the gas. Candid, cleaning conversation. Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome back to another episode of Candid Cleaning Conversations. How you doing? All right, you guys, we are here today and we have a very special guest. She's a woman of God. She's also an active member of New Community Church of God in Christ. She is a native New Yorker, taught by self-made millionaires. She's a graduate from Medgar Evers College. She's now celebrating her 20th year in the cleaning industry, and we know her as the owner of New Beginnings Commercial Residential Plus Incorporated here in Savannah, Georgia. She's known as the minority-based and community-driven company. You guys, help us welcome Miss Angela Haskins.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Welcome you. It's been a long time coming. I remember when we first met. I actually was just driving by, and I saw a sign that said New Beginnings commercial cleaning business, and I was like, wow, we were neighbors at one point, you know. So I was driving by, I called the number, well, Tamika called you, and we decided to have a little conversation or whatever, and I tell you, our relationship has just blossomed ever since. You know, it's the sisterhood has just... It's amazing, right, man. And not too many people are willing to come in your world and collab with you and partner with you the way you have. You know, we are in an alliance together. So I'm glad to have you as my friend, you know, and my alliance partner. Okay. Yes. So we got some questions. It's the first time you ever been inside my studio. We got some questions for you. The first question that we have, I'm going to let Miss Tamika ask the question.
All right, the first question that we have, guys, it says, can you tell us about your journey as a cleaning business owner since 2003 and how you have managed to sustain and grow your business?
Well, we came from New York, myself and my late husband, 2003, and moved to Georgia. And we both was working. I was working for the city at that time, and he had 3 jobs. That's a man, right? 3 jobs. He had 3 jobs. And just one day, one Saturday morning in May, as we were laying in bed, I just had a voice from the Lord. It said, start a company for your husband. And I, you know, and then I heard the voice say, start a business for your husband. Being a woman of God, of course, I know that is God speaking to me. And I immediately said, what kind of company? And the voice said, a cleaning company. Now, I was just in New York managing a cleaning company about 4 years. And I was started as a bookkeeper, then the office manager, then the ops manager, then his private assistant. Now, this 200 employees, 70 accounts, you know, big accounts like the Empire State Building, the Twin Towers, you know, a lot of retail, Kmart. And I knew that to be a lot of work. And I said, Lord, there's already a lot of cleaning companies here in Savannah. What's going to be so special about this one? And the Lord told me, he said, you're going to paint, repair, and clean. So we're going to be doing all that. And I said, okay, what's the name of this company? And he said, New Beginnings Commercial Residential Cleaning Plus Incorporated. And I said, okay. That's how we got started in obedience.
Awesome.
That
That's
is
amazing.
crazy.
That's amazing.
I must say, Miss Angie, that is truly inspirational. The fact that God delivered a message to you and clear as day, and you took upon yourself to go ahead and start a business. How can you relate that to someone else? How do you know when God's talking to you? Like, what does that sound like?
Well, first, I believe if you believe in God and you follow him, then you're always listening for his voice. Okay? Because he said, my sheep know my voice. So you're always listening. Now, I would say you're not a person of faith. You know, it was always in me to want to start a business, and the Lord placed that in me. But on your own, if you have a desire to do a business, do it. Find its supply and demand. Find the supply, you know where the demand is, and give the supply. You'll never go wrong, because whether it's real estate, cleaning, selling shoes, find your target, what you're going to sell, research it. And this is the most important thing that people don't do. Don't give up on yourself.
That's right.
I love it.
That's
I love it. I don't think I could have said that any better.
All right. Well, what are some of the key accomplishments or milestones that you have achieved during your venture as a cleaning business owner?
Milestones I've learned along the way. I've learned. I've learned.
It can be hard.
It can be hard, but you know, let's go back when it said I was taught by self-made millionaires. I started when I came out of college, and I started working with people that did not go to college, and they call it the city of School of Hard Knocks, and they were people like these Italian brothers named the Gray's brother. They were in CCTV, that's closed circuit TV. And I always had to deal with people with money. And you always had to manage their money. So nowadays, I would say when you're growing up, learn about money. Teach your children about money, you know, because it's more than having. You know, it's about spending and how to spend it. You know, learning when to hold it, learning when to, you know, to spend it.
Right.
I've worked for so many great men, and one of the greater ones was Charles Sestero, and that was the janitorial company that all through the years working on Wall Street, stocks and bonds, I learned business. I learned business stuff that I would not have learned in college. I took accounting in college, but business, you have to learn behind the desk, really. They can teach it to you, but when somebody gives you $200,000-$300,000 of their money and says manage it and make sure, and you have to account for every dime, you learn the respect for it, and then you have to learn that it's the people that make the money.
Right.
You know, so you just can't look at the money. You got to look what's connected to making the money. Right. And that's the people. So now you come into human resources, right? And so now you're learning people. Now you got to respect the people who are making the money that you are sitting behind the desk doing nothing for. So there's a great respect, you know, for that. So I had the challenges. I think I had to learn people, different types of people. You know, I had to learn. I think that's maybe my biggest thing, that I had to learn different types of people. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not going to like you, you know, but then it's business.
Right.
You know, that's what it is business. So I think those were some of the hard things I had to learn.
It was a blessing for you to be in the right environment. You know, we actually did a podcast episode on this last night about the importance
of the right environment,
of being in the right environment and being around the right people. You know what I mean? And being that you were around those millionaires, like, it's something about that frequency, it's something about that energy, it's something about those vibes that you've learned, and it attached over to you just by you being inside of that environment and you taking care of all of the money and everything you had to take care of. It was a lesson, and it was teaching you, and you left with those lessons, and it helped you out in your business, I'm sure.
Yes, it did, because when one man just get $1 million, when you see $1 million on paper, you know, and it's different than seeing it. I don't think anybody really ever sees $1 million.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
You know, it's always on paper. And its value is different, you know, than when you see it in a safe or, you know, in a vault. And then you see it on paper. And somebody tells you this, and this about this money. They didn't have to teach me. They didn't have to. But it was being in the room. And God will put you in the room, you know. So I met Betty Shabazz. I met her. That's that is Mega Everett's wife. I met her in college. I learned some great things from great women and great men, and it's always about listening. Another great woman was when I came here to Savannah is Stephanie Cutter. Now she was once the city manager here. She's a beautiful, soft-spirited woman. And you always have to be ready to listen. You know, when I met you, it was about listening. Here's another young black woman, and she's doing her thing. You know, and it was listening and learning you. And we clicked in with respect for one another in business. So it's always the thing of listening, because you never know when you're going to learn something.
That's right. All right. I love it. The next question.
All right. So the next question is, can you share any specific strategies or tactics you have employed to attract and retain clients over the years?
Now, we all know those are secrets, right? I'm going to tell you this. It's always going back to the basics. You know, a lot of people think you can just go into business. But there is the basics, and there are foundations that you have to build on, that you have to put in place before you can build.
Wow.
You know.
Can you touch on that?
Well, one, let me see, and knowing business, grassroots. Let's go back to the grassroots when you have to have a plan. You have to write it down. And only you can know your vision. And you do the small things. You write it out. I made a flyer when I started my business. You know, you have to know math. Oh, please. There are certain things you must know how to read. You must know math. You know, basic, foundational, minus and pluses. Right? That's just simple. If you can add and subtract, you can control your money. You know, you need to be able to read so you can understand a contract. Those are basic things. And then you have to go out and do your footwork. It's not going to come to you. Sometimes you have to knock on doors. And I remember when we had first started the business, and we had about 10 contracts, right? And then all of a sudden, I lost every contract. It was like a domino effect. Boop, 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 boop.
Wow.
Yeah. And we was like 4 years in.
Yeah.
And I lost every contract.
What happened?
I really don't know. I just, everything, they was just like, we don't want to do it anymore, you know. And I said, Lord, what happened? And so what did I have to do? You have to go back to the basics.
Right.
You see, not losing confidence.
Right.
You know, because it couldn't be me. Right?
Right.
So it's something I did, you know. It's not me like, oh, I'm not able to do this business. No, it's something I did wrong. So let me go back to the basics, and then you start right back over.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Maybe
so-
not following up with the client more. Or sometimes when we're growing in business, I know my pain point was, I'm so happy I put this contractor in here. He's taking care of it, and I wasn't following up. I wasn't checking on my accounts. So, I'm thinking, no news is good news. So I'm just moving and getting more accounts. And next thing you know, this person canceled, this person. I'm like, well, hey, what's going on? No, you have to keep checking up. Yes. So when I brought Tamika on, I was like, girl, I need some help because I can't handle everything. I'm only one person. I was a one woman show for about a couple of years before I brought Tamika on to help me out, to help me like stay on top of these people. Like every 15 days, I need you to reach out to them and make sure everything is okay. We okay over there? Is he messing up or whatever? Okay, cool. So that was one of my pain points. Like, sometimes you just got to take a step back and evaluate your company. How good are you documenting every little thing? Every little hiccup. How good are you? Are your employees happy? Because it was a situation where I thought my A player, I thought she just loved this company. Come to find out, she wasn't happy at all. And I was sitting here, bragging about her, like, oh my God, she's my best player. But in reality, she was tired of me giving her all that work, and she was tired of me, you know what I mean? She was tired of a lot of things, inconsistencies and, the miscommunications and stuff like that. So Miss Tamika, I said, well, we got to evaluate the workers as well. We need to make sure they're happy. We need to make sure there's no issues. So she would reach out to the workers as well and be like, is everything all right? What can we do to improve and make your job a little better, So she started doing that, and then we started to see an improvement that way. But in the beginning, it was hard, and we would lose a lot. We didn't understand, but we had to go back to the basics, just like you say.
You have to go back. One thing, I want to give props to my late husband because everything we do is everything he taught me. We do painting, we do electrical, we do plumbing, we do HVAC, we lay carpet, we do tile, we do cleaning, and he knew all that was in him. What was in me was the admin. So we put brains and brawns together and came up with, the new beginnings. But he is the foundation of this company. It's his hard work that founded the company and built it to be its own entity. So it's everything that he did. And I had to learn. Now I'm coming out of the office. Now I'm coming down to manual labor. And I am laying carpet. I had to learn how to paint. I had to learn how to trim. I had to learn electrical. Now that's what it was in those first 4 years when everything said boom, 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 boom. I had to apply myself more to learning what he was trying to teach me. And it's not always easy learning from your husband.
It's not.
It's not.
You don't want to hear what he got to say. Listen, I said it go this way.
Exactly. And I will say a good 90% of the time he was right. He was a good, hard-working man. And I have to give him that. He is the foundation. He was the fundamental part of the company was my husband, and I had to learn it. And I learned it from him. And I had to learn it to sell it. And then once I sold it, we were off and running, And so that's where we are now. We become the first 10 years was me learning the company with my husband. And when he passed, then I had this next decade. And that's where I took us. When he passed, I brought him to New York, South Carolina, Florida, because I knew the company.
And all that he installed in you, you were able to take it. And see, this is what we preach, generational wealth. I had my daughters in here the other day trying to teach them the business because Lord knows when you're going to go. You don't know. And I need the legacy to keep going. So that's good that he installed everything in you, Miss Angela, and you took this company far beyond. You are 20 years
20 years.
in the business. That ain't nothing to sneeze at right there.
No.
Okay, that's 20 years.
And we're getting ready to go to our third decade. You know, and that's what, you know, I look at people say 25 years, and yeah, we're going to do 25, but we're headed towards our third decade. And I'm excited about that.
Right.
I'm excited for you. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to your story, and even before just being here today, like, I am truly inspired by you, Miss Angie. Like, you have accomplished so much. But my next question would be, how are you able to excel and pivot, you know, just dealing with life? Because you are a brand new mom, and you're starting a business. How are you able to do it all? Because it's a plenty of entrepreneurs that's ready to start their business now, but they're afraid because they don't know how to balance it all, because they have to neglect their children. Something has to get neglected.
You know, I'm going to start with one thing. My mother always fed truth and life into me. There was nothing my mother said I couldn't do. So there was nothing I didn't feel that I could not do. My husband was a get it done person. So it was just basically really old-fashioned living, you know, just like my mother said. You get up in the morning, you do this, you do what you have to do, you go to work, and you come home and you take care of family. It has to be, you have to have a basic in you, like, who makes you, who are you, you know. And I am a loving, kind Black woman. That's who I am. And if you give me a piece of bread, I'm either gonna make a sandwich or turn it into something. You give me something, I'm gonna turn it into something more. The Lord gave me my husband, and everything that was in him, I made something out of it. So when we go on to now, I would say, don't give up. You know, have a plan. And how did I do it? I just kept going. I don't know how to stop.
Wow.
You know,
What keeps you motivated?
Yeah.
What keeps you going?
the plan is what keeps me going. I love business, you know, and I have a goal to be like Ford and Hershey. You know, I always had a business mind.
The big vision.
Yeah, and I look to leave this behind to somebody, you know, whether it's somebody in my family or somebody's going to keep it going.
Right.
And it's not more so my plan, it's God's plan, you know. But all he did, I have a business mind like you do.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if everything went, you'd start another business, right?
I sure would.
Right. That's what, you know, that's what you, whether you're selling, you know, whether you're doing this or you're doing that,
Yeah.
you're going to sell something.
Yes.
And that's how I feel in business. That's who we are.
Right.
You know, there are chiefs and there are Indians, and everybody can't be an Indian,
They can't.
and everybody can't be a chief. But to be a chief, you must love your Indians.
That's right. Some people start this business and they give up so quick.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to ask those questions, because it's something within us. We're wired differently, where we keep going. Like I always tell my hardships when I gave up on my first business, but guess what? I started another one and I kept going. It's just something, I'm wired differently, and you're wired differently as well. I'm pretty sure you go through hard times too, but you ain't gonna just quit. Like, and especially when you get the revenue that you have coming in.
Yeah.
We're in a position where, oh, you can't just quit. It's not like a job. You know how you could just walk off the job. I quit. No. Like in my position, the position I hold, I can't just walk away. It's so many people's lives,
Exactly.
you know,
Yes.
that we have in our hands.
Exactly.
It's not that type of stuff. All the clients that we have, like, what are you going to tell all these people? So when you're waist deep in like that, you can't just quit.
And it's not just that, you see, it's with me, it's not only the clients, but the employees. You know, when you have almost about 100 employees, that's all those children.
Yeah.
You know, all those children you have to think about. Every time I make a decision, I think about every worker and their children. And I know every worker, they have children. you know, their children, and I always ask about them, you know, because I have a young lady that worked with me for years. She started in 2007, came with me up through the pandemic and everything. And as much as I would say you lead, not everybody wants to lead. No. You know, so it's always good to have somebody by your side, you know, and how can you say? Give them their allocates too. Right. Let them know, I couldn't do this without you. Right. You know, so, but.
What would you say differentiates you from the other cleaning businesses in Savannah, Georgia? That's a good one.
I would say me. You know, me being me, you know, because I learned business. Right. I didn't open the business to make money. Right. You know, I opened the business to do the business. Right. You know, so when I'm doing something, it's about being true to my word, getting the job done, caring about the client and the client's business. So how do you get somebody to give you $500,000 without letting him know that you're going to care about what is important to him? Right. So my first year in business, we made $250,000.
Ooh, in the first year.
In the first year, yeah.
Wow.
The first year we made $250,000. Now, I was like, that was on my husband's back. All I did was sell him. You know, now I sell what he built. And there's nothing in my company that I have not done, whether it's put up a light, electrical, plumbing, anything. And the men that I have with me and the women, you know, when I share with them how I started at the bottom, where they are, what I'm asking them to do, and now I'm sitting here, they respect that. It's a little harder to get the men to respect it, but once the men know that you know what you're doing, they respect you too.
I love it. I must say, between you two ladies, I really appreciate you both because you're impactful. You understand? You guys are very impactful. It's not about the transaction, it's about the transformation with you ladies, and that is definitely transformational for a lot of cleaning company. And that's going to lead me to our next question for you, Miss Angie. Like, how do you effectively manage and motivate your cleaning staff to ensure high standards of service delivery?
I start, and I think about that a lot, I start with telling them the vision. And once they understand the vision and what I am looking for, then I ask them about themselves and how do they feel like they will fit in the vision. Once they feel like they want to be a part of the vision, then it's back to the basics. You have to tell them what is expected of them, what is our goal, how we're going to achieve it, and why. And one thing, and this is one thing that's so back to the basics that people got to understand, the client is always right.
That's right.
You know, that goes back to years. You see, that's back to the basics. The client is always right.
That's right.
And as long as you know that, now he might be wrong, but he's right.
That's right. That's what I tell my workers all the time. They're complaining, but he's lying. But listen. Yeah. Okay, we have to please this client. Okay, I'm gonna either give them a refund or send the person back, or we have to do what we have to do to please that client, regardless. I mean, if the client is just trying to get money back or whatever, we always have to be the bigger person about the situation.
Yes.
At all times. I mean, and that's why I say some people just aren't cut for entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
and even with them, I tell them, I want to make sure you have everything so you don't fail. I want to make sure that you don't fail, you know, with my employees. But then I also let them know about, back in the day, they had the pink slip. You know, you have the three, you have the verbal warning, the written warning, and then you're gone. You know.
That's old school. That's what
That's old school.
But, I mean, it's really not old school, you guys. That is how you deal with employees.
Yes.
See, our worlds are different. I got contractors. You got employees.
And so, I'll tell you this, even with contractors, right? You have to let them know. You have a warning. You have to correct that or address that. Or
else, or you're not going to get paid for the job if the job is not done correctly. Right. So we will send them back for them to correct the job. But if it's not done correctly, you're not going to get paid until it's done correctly, or we'll take deductions out of it. That's our situation with contractors. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different. Employees, I just want them to be a part of, like, if you're coming on with Nike, you know, I heard Bishop Jakes talk about how the employees are at Nike. Everybody knows the brand motto, you know, just do it, right? Right. And my brand is like, our logo is like, we get the job done. That was from my husband. Right. When I took over, I'm more about contracts. I want to be a part of your team. Mm-hmm. So now we put those together, and going forward, we are building a community within the company. You know, we're building a culture, not a community. We're building a culture because as things change through the years, you know, ideas, children are grown up and they want to do it their way. Exactly. And so you have to still keep yesterday connecting with today.
That's funny you said that, because that was my next question. Mm-hmm. Because I know if you've been in business for 20 years, you started off without all of this technology that we have right now, right? So I was going to ask you, how is it making that transition onto the technology world, you know, with the internet? You know, you got to do TikTok videos, you got to, you know, you got to do YouTube, you have to, you know, so how is it making that transition over?
It's not easy. Like I said, coming back from, like, they call us old school. Mm-hmm. And then we came to this part of computers. So I am in my 20s when the computers came out. That's when I was working on Wall Street. Okay. You know, that's when the computer came out. And, you had to know that computer to get a job in the office, you know. And then as we came into the business, it was learning the power drills, you know, the new tools. It was no more just this saw. Right. It was the saw that, you know, with a battery in it, you know. And then we get to the pandemic stage. Right. I didn't want to change. You know, I was like, this is what works. Mm-hmm. The new generation that's coming, they want to do things differently. Right. And they don't have a backup. No. You know, they don't have a backup. And so now I'm watching and I know, okay, you have to make the change because this is where it's going. Right. So when we got into the pandemic, me and my assistant at the time, we buckled down. We drew back and we started rebranding. You know, we had to build the brand. Right. That all the hard work that we did, now I had to build it into a brand. Right. I had to make it become its own self. Right. You know, and now that's what I sell. We're a brand now. Right. We're no longer just a company. You know, we're a brand. And everybody that comes into the company now, this is the brand. This is how we look. This is how we walk. This is how we talk. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I'm selling to the clients. You see, that's the culture. Right. Because everything was going in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. The kids were saying they didn't want to work. Mm-hmm. Where did you find your employees? Mm-hmm. Now everybody was like, oh, we got to do what they say. Now that is what I'm not going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what I'm not going to do. Right. We're going to rebrand. And I'm going to meet up with that, I call them millenniums, but they said they're not the millenniums.
They're the millennials.
You know, I think they are. So I have now, I bring old school to the new school, but with standards. Right. Nowadays, you got to let them know, this is what we doing. And when people understand that, then they can respect and they know how to move. I'm that kind of person too. If I don't understand it, I can't move. Right. You know, but if I understand it, I could join your team and give you everything I got. Exactly. And that's what I have an office manager, and his name is Demetrius. Mm-hmm. Everything I say, he is taking it to digital. You know, and so now we are prepared for our third decade. He is just taking us there. I'm like Star Trek, like engage, you know, because that's where he's going. That's right. And so I give him the old school, the foundation, what it is we stand for, what I'm trying to achieve. This is our look. And he's the one that came up with, oh, you're building a culture. I said, that's what we're doing.
Right.
You see, I would say we're rebuilding because I'm taking some of the standards from the old and saying, this is how we stand.
Right.
Now, all that is you, whatever your new thoughts on, you could take this and go, but you got to take the foundation.
Right with you.
You got to take the foundation because this is what we fall down on. You know? So when we fall down, we can get back up.
That's right.
That's
what I love about the fact that you've been in 20 years in this. So you were able to see how they did it back then. I didn't catch that, but I came in on the easy stuff. You guys didn't have a CRM program.
No.
You didn't have all this stuff. We got it easy. You understand? See, nowadays, when you first started, people didn't care about who the business owner was. They just wanted a job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They just want to work. They just want a job. Nowadays, it's different. Everybody want to be a boss, and they care about who the CEO is.
Yeah, I don't
they
even want
wanna-
people to know
You see
I'm
what
the
I'm saying?
CEO.
That's what.
Yeah, I'm like, look.
She like, I don't care.
Yeah,
but
no, we a team. Now, if somebody got to step out front because my management, then I'm going to step out front and represent. But other than that, we all on the same line.
Right.
You know, yeah, we all on the same line.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Miss Angie, I definitely want to thank you so much for coming out today. If no one has learned anything from what we have said, if it went over your head and out the door, please remember, it's back to the basics, okay, you guys? Please understand that. And you cannot do anything without God, okay, and integrity. And if you have any last words for the people, Miss Angie, what would you like to say?
I would like to say two things. There's no quick way to success. There's no elevator. You have to take the stairs. The other thing is trust God and believe Him for everything. And I thank you all. I thank the audience. I hope you learn, believe in yourself. Don't give up. I thank my business alliance partner, Miss Johnson. People don't know we do big things together, and I'm quiet behind her sometimes, and she's quiet behind me. And I can't wait to go and help celebrate you in Jacksonville.
Yes.
I'm
will
looking forward.
At the conference, I'll be speaking at the Clean Biz Network conference, you guys. Make sure y'all show up to the conference if you're not watching this too late. Show up to the conference June 29th and the 30th. Sorry.
Yes, and I'm excited. I'm excited
That's
for
what
you.
we do. As women, we need to embrace each other, man, and empower each other. That's what we need, man.
Yes.
So
I love it. And we're going to tune out from here, you guys. And if you're having a bad day, continue to just have a bad day. Don't mess up nobody else's. We over and out, honey.
All right. That's right. We out of here, y'all. Peace.
Wow.